All right, and welcome to the Milo Beasley Show. This week, episode number 97. Number 97 in the books. My guest this week, Chris Whaley. How you doing, sir?
Better than I deserve, man.
And thank you for welcoming me into your house for this little chat. Wanted to talk to you. I saw your name that ran across something of a colleagues of mine, and I was like, man, I really want to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
A good portion of my fan base is professional wrestling fans and other professional wrestlers, and so that's what struck me to you the first time that I saw your name in your story, is that you were actually a professional wrestler
for 10 years.
For 10 years, and you were actually trained by the Great Boris Malenko.
Yeah, Boris Malenko. Yeah.
Wow, like that's incredible. My trainers who actually trained me were actually trained at the Malenko School as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So who? Do you remember any of the folks who you trained with?
Actually, I was training with Dean and Joe, his two sons, and got to work against both of them too. That was kind of cool. And a good friend of mine that ended up wrestling as the evil Prince Naka. He trained there, and some of those other guys I don't even remember. Well, Mark Miro. Mark
Miro, who we were just talking about earlier.
The Great Malenko.
Yeah.
He was great. Yeah, he was really good. Larry was. I think he's one of the best in the business, and it was really sad to see him go as young as he did.
Right. I seem like just about anybody went through, especially in the South, went through the Malenko doors.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, all of my trainers went through the Malenko school, so I was trained the Malenko way because everyone passed down those type of traditions. How did you become the Saint? Like, how did you become that character? Well,
whenever I got into wrestling, I was wrestling under Chris Samuels. I wrestled Chris Hawkins and all kinds of names. I was looking to go to my first church right after I got trained, and I was wrestling. I was looking for a church because I'm a minister, and a church called me over in Central Florida. And my wife was pregnant with our first child, and she's a school teacher, so she wasn't able to teach school, and we were starving. So I went to the pastor and said, I would really like to wrestle a couple of nights a week. It would help us financially. And he said, absolutely not. We're not going to turn this church into a circus. So I said, okay. And so I was home. I had TV on. I was watching wrestling, and there's a friend of mine working under a hood, and I said, that's it. So my sister, who's a very good seamstress, actually made my first mask. And then I ordered my trunks from J&H Wrestling up in Youngstown, Ohio, and I had white trunks, white tights, white boots, white cape, and a white mask. And I started wrestling as the Saint, and I wrestled as the Saint until I retired in 1988.
Yeah. Did you find it cumbersome at all, or did wrestling in a mask actually come natural?
Yeah, it just came natural. I loved it.
I've wrestled in mask as well. Obviously, most of my career is without a mask, but I have wrestled in mask and wrestle in different masks, and sometimes they can become cumbersome. You get like claustrophobic and stuff like that. Did you get you didn't worry about any of that?
No, I took to it like duck to a water.
It's even better.
Yeah, no problem.
So, and then you said you retired in 1988.
Yep.
Was that due to just one of the family church obligations, or you just, as some people, you fell out of love with wrestling, as some people have?
No, never fell out of love with wrestling. No, I graduated from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in 1988. My last 3 years I wrestled while I was in seminary in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, wow.
So wrestled with the Von Erichs, and wrestled for Wild West Wrestling and Universal Wrestling Federation, and a bunch of independent shows. And I graduated in May of 1988, and then I went to my first church, and that was the end of it. But it wasn't the end of it, because my first church, I did a couple of benefits for a football team there in Lake Wales, and then when I went to my second church, I did a couple of benefits. I did one for a lady in my church who was dying of cancer, and one for a home for retarded children. And I still had lots of contacts. Still had, I think the last show that I did, I had Dory Funk Jr., had Ravishing Rick Rude,
nice.
Bugsy McGraw, had Dick Slater. I had a bunch of guys from the old days that came over and worked, and it was a great way to go out.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
And then years later, you actually you wrote a book,
right,
called The Masked Saint.
Right.
Where did inspiration? How did that come about?
Well, when I went to my first church, I dealt with a young lady who was being beaten by her husband, and so I went to see her husband to see how he could do against somebody who could fight back, and that was kind of how the Masked Saint was born. Each chapter in the book is really built upon something that happened in my life with different people, and handled it a little bit different than a pastor would normally handle it.
Right. Yeah.
So the wrestling was really good. Larry was a great teacher. He didn't just teach you how to work. He taught you how to wrestle.
He taught you how to, right, which is most important when you're down there on the mat.
Yeah,
because I'm sure as back when it was wrestling and not wrestling, obviously your character not so much, but some of those guys literally had to fight their way to their cars. It's a good thing you knew how to actually get in there and handle yourself if need be.
Yeah, that was a great thing about it.
So then you wrote the book.
Yeah.
And then from the book actually became a movie.
Right.
Were you thinking of the movie when you wrote the book, or were you just thinking, I just want to get this out there and put it in writing?
No, actually, I was thinking of a TV series. I used to love, I know I'm a wrestler and all, but I used to love Little House on the Prairie, and I used to love Highway to Heaven. Now, the reason I liked them is because they were just good moral shows.
Right.
Today, you can't find anything like that on TV.
No.
The sitcoms, they make the dads look like idiots, they make the mom look promiscuous, and they make the children rebellious, and I wouldn't want my kids watching that.
All right.
So I thought each one of those chapters could have been made into an episode, and so that was what I was trying to sell. And my sister gave a copy of the book to a friend of hers who was married to a movie producer. He did the first 3 Mutant Teenage Ninja Turtles,
right.
The blockbusters. He was the producer of those, and he produced Letters to God. He produced the Stroke of Genius with Jim Caviezel, and he called me up and asked me to come meet him in his office, and he kept me on the hook for a little less than a year, and then he changed his mind and said no. But during that time, I got to meet other people in the business,
right.
And I had a producer from Canada that flew down and met me at Disney World, and he loved the story and loved the fact that it was based upon true events. And so it just took a long time, but in February of 2013, he called me and asked if anybody had done anything with the book yet, and I said no, and he said, well, I'll get back to you. And 2 weeks later he called me and said, we're going to make the book into a movie.
Oh, fantastic.
And so they filmed it November 2013, and then it came out in theaters this year on January the 8th here in the U.S., nationwide, and then it was released in Canada on the 22nd. And we're filming this on, can I tell the date? We're
Yeah.
We're filming it on April the 4th, and April the 5th, the DVD comes out. It'll be on pay-per-view, and it'll be on Redbox.
Right, so you can actually check it out now. So by the time this episode comes out, go and check it out. Definitely,
right.
And in here, you look at and it has the I don't know, probably can't read it here, but for those folks who are wondering, who might be in there wrestling wise that they might know, a pretty big name actually.
Yeah, Roddy Piper.
Right, rest in peace. One of my absolute idols.
Yeah.
In wrestling.
He's a great guy. He really
did you get a chance to work? Did you get a chance to go to the set and work, or at least watch them film? And
I was on the set for the entire time of the wrestling.
Sometimes they don't like the writers there because no,
I was very, very blessed to be there. I hadn't seen Roddy Piper in 30 years, so I had an old picture, and he was. It was just like we never stopped.
Awesome.
He's a great guy. He's a great family man. A lot of people don't know that when Roddy Piper wrestled, he never took his wedding ring off. If you watch any of his old matches, he's always got his wedding ring on, and always wanted to be home on the weekend with his family. He loved his kids, and he was a good family man, and great guy. He's a great wrestler and a great actor.
Yeah, definitely. He spent, I think he spent quite a few years, almost 30 years, I guess, in the movie business as well.
Right,
so
they live.
Yeah, they live.
Got bubble gum. And,
okay. Right. So what's next for you? You have your book, or that was made into a movie. What's next?
Well, I'm writing The Masked Saint too, so hopefully something will go to come of that, and it's just given me a lot of opportunities to speak and to share my story with a lot of people that otherwise I wouldn't have had it not been for the book and the movie. So
you get to carry this thing around. This was actually the screen used title belt that they used in The Masked Saint.
Right.
So they gave this to you, and you get to carry this around and do your talks.
Yeah. James Preston Rogers is the young man that plays the Reaper in the movies. Awesome. He went through the WWE school and was offered a contract, but
he's a big guy.
Decided to stay in the movies instead of doing that.
Probably
but
safer.
He did all the work on putting the wrestling together in the movie. He was the guy who did that. Did a great job, and they had Canadian wrestlers that were the wrestlers in the movie, but all those guys did a great job. And the great thing I've heard about from everybody that's seen the movie, Jeff Jarrett was very involved in it, and Jeff Jarrett loved it. He loved the movie. He was there for the premiere. Mick Foley loved it. He thought that James Preston Rogers ought to be working for the WWE. And what's his name? I'm trying to think of his name. That he's not in it anymore. Getting old as a pitch. I can't remember, but by the time you leave, I'll remember. But a lot of the big name wrestlers saw it, and they thought that this is the best wrestling they've seen in a movie.
Now, did you see the movie The Wrestler?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, would you think of that movie as well?
Having worked in the independent circuit, I thought it was spot on. It was. It really was, except for the gigging part. Right. I never saw anybody tape it to their arm. You put it on your finger, you sliced a little piece and put it on the end of your finger and put a piece of tape over, and when it came time you just moved it back and boom, that was it. So that was a little hooky, but the rest of it was spot on. They did a great job.
Obviously wrestling is kind of seen as in the mainstream as hokey or corny, a circus, but the wrestler brought that type of lifestyle into the mainstream.
Right.
So hopefully, maybe we can see a little bit more of that.
Michaels. Last name's Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. He loved the movie.
He's a good man.
He did a lot of PR for us.
And he's a man who had that lifestyle and became converted. And which there's a lot of guys who Lex Luger, Sting, $1 Million Man. I worked an event that $1 Million Man and Sting had put on in the Bayfront Center in St. Petersburg. That was it brought out thousands. It was geared towards youths. Brought out thousands upon thousands of youths to be able to listen to the word and to their stories about this is what actually happens in real life, but you can turn that around.
Right.
You know, so one thing we like to do here on the Milo Beasley Show is called the top 5. I ask a random question, maybe not even related to the episode at all. Now, I happen to know that you are a Florida State fan. Top 5 Florida State Seminoles of all time. Your favorite Seminoles of all time.
Ron Simmons.
Ron Simmons.
Yeah, worked with Ron Simmons. He's a good guy. Charlie Ward.
Oh, Charlie Ward is my all-time favorite. Florida State alumni, number 17. He's a good guy.
I'm not so crazy about some of the things he did, but nobody could take away Neon Dion. Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders.
Ward Dunn, obviously. And how many is that?
That's 4.
That's 4. Well, I think Chris Winkie. I really like Chris Winkie. Had the opportunity to talk with him too, and ride up an elevator with him, and he was just a great young man. Yeah, he really was.
So I mean, the 5 you mentioned gone on to do a lot of things for their community. You know, like have gone on to work done had while he was in Tampa.
Yeah. How many homes has he built?
He built dozens of homes for single mothers. Deion, like you said, say what you may about younger Deion, but now is doing great things for the community. He's doing great things for NFLers now. He has a school to coach them on what not to do. Because if anybody's an expert at it, you gotta. So before we wrap up, where can folks find you and find information on the Masked Saint?
Okay. And go to themaskedsaint.com or themaskedsaintbook.com. Both of those have got all the information. I mean, if you want the book, it's in Barnes & Noble. It's in a lot of other bookstores. Amazon, it's on Kindle. And the movie, of course, you can pick it up at Walmart.
You pick it up now, right? Yeah, pick it up Walmart, you said Redbox.
Redbox, Amazon. You can get it on Amazon for about $5 cheaper than you can buy it at Walmart. So that's what I did.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week. This has been episode number 97. And thank you for watching.